Welcome in, folks, to the World of Football. I'm your host, Adam Snow, and joining me, as always, is the founder of the World of Football, my father, Randy Snow. And today we'll be recapping Week 10 of the inaugural season of Arena Football 1. Dad, how are you? It was only 2 games this weekend, but I'm sure they kept you pretty busy.
Yeah, that one last night was pretty late. It didn't get over till midnight Eastern Standard
Oof.
Time, but I stayed up for the whole thing, watching it on my laptop. So, ready to talk about it.
AF1, some of us got work the next morning, okay? I can't be staying up till midnight watching these games. I mean, I was able to check out the some of the stuff on Evergreen Now the next morning, but geez, come on, you're killing me here. Hard to do a show the very next day when I have to stay up till midnight and work an 8-hour shift, then come do this show. That's besides the point. Everybody, welcome in. We appreciate you coming along for the ride today. But before we talk about the Week 10 slate of games, we'd like to remind you guys to like, comment, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. It would greatly help us out, and we'd be very appreciative of that. And guys, you can also follow us on various social media accounts. We have an X, we have a Facebook, we have an Instagram. We try to interact with as many people as we can who want to interact with us. So if you could, you'll hit us up on the socials. We'd appreciate that as well. Without further ado, Dad, we got some of the pleasantries out of the way. Let's get into this first game, the Vice game of the week, which saw the Southwest Kansas Storm come into Billings and take out the Outlaws 65-56. This was, I thought this was going to be a bounce back game for Billings, but there was a lot of stuff that happened here. You had the return of Jalen Morton at quarterback for the Southwest Kansas Storm, which we didn't know was going to happen. We saw the transaction where he got let go from the Birmingham Stallions of the UFL. I personally didn't see any transaction about him coming back to the Storm. So to my pleasant surprise, tuning into that game Saturday night, hey, Jalen Morton's playing, so we should have a great game in store. And actually, we ended up getting a pretty classic feeling arena football game. What were your takeaways from this?
Yeah, this was a great game. I mean, this is the way arena football should be played. It was a lot of back and forth by both these teams. Billings scored first. They got a touchdown and a deuce to give Billings a 9-0 lead. Billings was up 16-7 at the end of the first quarter, and then the two teams just kept swapping touchdowns back and forth in the second.
Yeah.
A fumble by Billings was returned for a touchdown to give Southwest Kansas their first lead of the game at 30-23. I think that was under a minute, and then there were several more touchdowns scored before halftime, and it turned out to be 37-37 at halftime. So this was a great game up until halftime. I mean, just the way you want to see it. Whoever's got the ball, they're going to go down and score, and the other team's going to score, and then the other team's going to come back and score. That's arena football. That's so much fun to watch, and I was really invested. I think that's why I stayed up for the whole thing. In the third quarter, the game was 51-50 when Billings tried an onside kick, and it was recovered by Southwest Kansas. They scored after that, 58-50, the end of the third quarter. Southwest Kansas just kind of cruised after that. I think they each traded a touchdown, and in the end, it was Southwest Kansas with a 65-56 win. So Billings started out really strong, and I thought it was going to go right down to the wire. But by the end of the third quarter, you could kind of see that Southwest Kansas had things pretty well in hand.
Yeah, they're a team that's gelled, a lot more this season. They've had their ups and downs early. They've been coming on really strong late, and the play of Jalen Morton can't go understated. I mean, the dude threw 7 touchdown passes, I think, during this game. I think his final stat line here, he was 17-27 for 272 yards, threw 7 touchdown passes, including a long of 50. So having Jalen Morton back in the lineup, big, key for that Storm team. And I think for Billings, that's still a gelling problem. They've got this new roster. Yes, they beat up on a not so good Washington Wolfpack last week. I think that's good to get your team kind of figured out, try some things, get some chemistry going. And early on, it seemed like they got it figured out here. I mean, Darius Prince and Malik Henry definitely have that connection. Darius Prince with another Sports Center type highlight touchdown, going over the boards. There's several over the boards plays in this game, which I was very fond of, other than being like, I hope the guy gets up, I hope he's okay. But this was very entertaining till about the fourth quarter. Once things kind of got out of Billings' hands, once it was the not what was it? They didn't make it on a fourth down play, or they went for it on fourth down, didn't get it, and that turned the ball over. The onside kick, kind of gave the Storm a good spot.
Yeah.
So I mean that's
I have to question that the onside kick myself. I think that was a big turning point there. That they should have just kicked it off. I mean, they were doing fine, but man, they just handed them the ball, inside the 10-yard line or whatever, and it just I would not have done that myself.
I don't know. Situationally, I can see where you do that. You either you don't know if you can stop them, you let them get a quick score, so you can go down and get a quick score. There's a lot of things I'm sure played into that decision. I'm not going to harp too much on that one. I think there's other issues that the Outlaws got to work on here. But I mean, we were curious what they were going to be looking like against a more competent team, and they got a very competent Southwest Kansas Storm team they had to match up against. And at the end of the day, the Storm came out on top. So for Billings, puts them in a bit of a precarious situation where they find themselves in the standings, which we'll talk about a little later.
Yeah.
But I don't know what else to say about this game other than Jalen Morton's return cannot be stressed enough. Like how important he is to that team, how awesome they looked with him at the helm, and he just seems to get better and better each week as he's kind of figure out the game. And I think now the debate about who should be the most valuable player, I mean, could swing in Jalen Morton's favor now. I think it's clear that this team needs him. They haven't played a game without him, but there was a lot of worry about this team league wide. Like, what are they going to look like without him? And they had him back, and they're the same team. So I don't know. Instead of touchdown passes for him, I mean, usually we talk about him running the ball. I mean, he was very impressive through the air. He didn't do so much on the ground. 4 rushes, 14 yards, and a touchdown on the ground. But I thought Jalen Morton was absolutely outstanding in this game. But Malik Henry as well, I thought looked good. Him and like I said, him and Darius Prince making good connections there. Malik Henry ended up going. Where's his stat line here? 21 of 30 for 197 yards. He also threw for 7 touchdown passes. So clearly a great classic arena football quarterback duel. It just turns out, a couple turnovers go the wrong way, or turnover on downs, and it ends up being a Southwest Kansas win.
Yeah, last thing I want to say is I think the Billings defense looked really good through about 3.5 quarters or so. I mean they really kept the running game in check anyway for Southwest Kansas. But yeah, it's one little mistake and the whole game turns and you don't get a chance to catch up, and that's kind of what happened in this one.
Yeah, that's why I wish the stop was an official stat in arena football. It's a core element of the game we talk about and have talked about for decades, about just how important 2 or 3 stops swings a game in somebody else's favor, whether that be stopping them, holding them to a field goal, the turnover on downs, especially now in the way the league has kind of evolved right at this moment, where it's a lot of going for it on fourth down at their own end, which I don't know if I'm a fan of, but I mean, it works out sometimes and a lot of times it doesn't. So, all right. Anything else from this game?
No.
Okay. No shout out to your buddy Steven Titus. Okay.
Well, I just want to say that I keep watching, and I'm still rooting for Billings to make a turnaround, but time's running out on the season.
Fortunately, I mean, it's getting interesting though, getting here to the end of the season. So we'll talk about the standings and all that in a little bit, and might have a little Steven Titus story in a little bit. We'll get to that. All right, before we jump into game number 2 of the weekend, we'd like to remind you guys that we here at the World of Football, we do a weekly podcast. It's called This Week in the World of Football. This upcoming week, we have episode 394. I don't want to cut us 100 episodes short. 394 episodes. That's right, everybody. Dad, what are we going to be talking about on this Tuesday's episode?
Oh, we got a lot to talk about this week, as always. 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy signs a great big contract with the team. The matchups are set in the UFL playoffs for both conferences, and the European League of Football kicked off its 5th season. So the football just keeps on coming.
Heck yeah, it does. It's exciting stuff. I love this time of the year. A lot of different types of football happening. That's what makes it so much fun. And it's what makes me go, whenever I see those Twitter and Facebook posts about, man, I can't wait for football to come back. I'm like,
yeah,
guys, it never left. So But yeah, check out our show, This Week in the World of Football, every single Tuesday, wherever good podcasts can be found, or right here on this very YouTube channel where you can catch the audio-only version that we do. But be on the lookout, everybody, for some big news in the next couple of weeks regarding that show, maybe doing something live. That's right, we got something special planned in the works, and we'll tell you more about that down the road. All right. Enough of that. We have a second and final game to talk about this week, and that was the Sunday night game, or AF1 After Dark, as a lot of people like to coin the phrase. I believe our buddy Trey coined that phrase. Don't quote me on that, everybody. But it's been used. AF1 After Dark. And it's called AF1 After Dark because I go to bed promptly at 9:30 when this game was kicking off. So I had to catch up with it. But, Dad, what were your thoughts as the Lightning and the Wolfpack met for the fourth time this season? The Lightning defeating the Wolfpack 52-20.
Well, in the words of the great Yogi Berra, it's the same thing all over again. It's deja vu all over again. That was his quote. Yeah, Oregon Lightning over the Washington Wolfpack this time, 52-20. Like you said, the fourth meeting of the season for these two teams. The Lightning had a 12-0 lead at the end of the first quarter. Lightning extended their lead to 39-14 going into halftime. You could just tell the Lightning had it geared up for this game, and Washington did not. Washington was shut out in the third quarter as the Lightning scored 13 unanswered points to take a 52-14 lead. And in the fourth quarter, the only score was a late touchdown by Washington with 45 seconds left in the game, making the score 52-20. Fourth win for Oregon. They're in playoff contention with the third best record in the league right now, and that really surprised me.
I wouldn't go that far. It's based on winning percentage, so they are not in playoff contention yet. They are in the hunt. Everybody's technically in the hunt right now if you're outside of that top four. So, but we'll talk about that in a second. But I want to talk about this Oregon team. It's hard to gauge this team because their wins have come against, the Storm, which is a good team, but it was that last second Hail Mary. They were kind of gifted the ball after some fluky play calling by the Storm at that point early in the season. And then their other three wins have all come against, or have come against the Wolfpack, two of them at least. And I'm trying to remember where that fourth win came in. But I can't remember. Against Corpus Christi just last week. Sorry, mental fart. But so they haven't really beaten these teams that we consider the top echelon teams. But here Oregon is just sitting there with a 4-5 record, sniffing a playoff berth. It's just the way this league's kind of shaking out right now, and it's nothing against the quality of their players because they got some dudes. Like, I like talking about Dalton Cole. He's been a fun guy to watch, and he's a great interview too. If you get a chance to go listen to the latest episode of the AF1's official podcast that they do, they had a great interview with Dalton Cole. He does sound like just one of the coolest dudes you'd ever meet. Dalton, if you ever want to chit chat with a couple of guys from Kalamazoo, Michigan, slide into them DMs, buddy. But Dalton, he went, if I could get the page to load here, he went 17-27 for 220 yards, 5 touchdowns, and a single interception. But he had a heck of a hit on that one interception where he tackled the guy, if I remember seeing the highlight correctly. But good stuff there. But I just don't know what to fully still make of this Oregon Lightning team because, like I said, their wins have all been the fluky last second, 2 Wolfpack wins, and a rebuilding Corpus Christi win. So forgive me if I'm not super overly hyped about the Lightning right now, but you play who's in front of you. You can only do that, and they've done that, and they got 4 wins because of it. And here they are on the birth of a playoff submission.
Yeah. It wasn't that long ago that I was of the mind that you can count out Oregon and Washington. They're not going to make the playoffs. They're just playing out the season, and now all of a sudden, here's Oregon sniffing a playoff spot. There's some games to be played yet, I'm sure, but I mean, just the fact that they've got 4 wins, and that's the third most in the league this year. So I mean that's surprising. I can't believe it, but good for Oregon. Um, yeah, in fact, I think even last week you were saying, is this team even going to be back next year, or will they be playing in the same arena and all this? And but here they are, getting people's attention after that win last night.
Look, I think they got the bones of an organization. I just, like I said, I think the venue mainly is the big issue. I think if they move to, like we've seen people in the comments, hey, they should just move to Portland. They should move here. Who knows? I'm sure they'll be, and we don't want to get too ahead of our skis right now. We're 10 weeks into the season. It's not done yet. We'll see what happens, but I feel like there could be some relocation of teams. We kind of talked a little bit last week. Could Oregon be one of them? Who knows? Again, too early to say, but there's pieces, the players on this team that are pretty good, like Dalton Cole. They got other pieces. The coaching staff clearly seems like they're getting a handle on the game. So that could be a very important piece going into a big game against, and if they're in the playoffs, playing against an Albany, playing against some of these other teams that we haven't seen them play this year yet. So it'll just be fascinating to get to that point and see how this playoff shakes out. Anything else about this game before we move on?
No.
All right, then obviously half the league was on bye, so that includes your Albany Firebirds, Corpus Christi Tritons, the Nashville Cats, and the Salina Liberty, all on bye this week. So let's talk about the standings. And right now, your clubhouse leader, Albany Firebirds, still at 8-0. They are the only team to clinch a playoff spot, and they have technically clinched home field advantage and the number one seed. That kind of came out later after they announced the playoff restructure that we talked about last week. Right now in second place, the Southwest Kansas Storm at 6-3. In third place, the Nashville Cats at 3-3, and the Corpus Christi Tritons at 3-3. Obviously, neither of those teams played a game, and these standings are based off of winning percentage. Because then in the fifth spot, you have the 4-5 Oregon Lightning, the 3-5 Billings Outlaws, the 2-5 Salina Liberty, and the 2-7 Washington Wolfpack. And there's still a lot of games to be played for a lot of these other teams. We talked about how Albany's only got 2 games left on their schedule. A lot of these other teams still got 3-4 games left to play out. So we'll see how the rest of the season shakes out. So as of right now, Dad, your playoffs would be the Corpus Christi Tritons traveling to Albany and the Nashville Cats traveling to Southwest Kansas. I think this won't be the final four right now, as the teams, on the outside looking in, I think, Billings could still make a run for it, and so could Oregon now. Salina's the other one. They just got to string some wins together. They are just a game back of some of these other teams. I feel like that could be their detriment. They could probably string a couple together, but will it be enough to round out the end of the season? Who knows? Anything else about the standings for you?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm good.
Okay, right on. Hey, no problem. I mean, they're standings. It's hard to dispute standings. That's how they are. Right. So going into some news items this past week, not a whole lot. I don't know what you saw this week. One thing I wanted to bring up, that we did get a little tease. I think I saw today that the Stephen Titus and Albany bet is coming to fruition as a blurry photo of what the car wrap is supposed to look like that he's supposed to do to his car.
I have not seen that.
Oh, yeah, I saw that on X somewhere. I don't know if it was the official AF1 account. Go over there, check that out. So that should be coming soon. The official unveiling of Stephen Titus's Firebird Mobile, or whatever they're going to call it. Also, Mr. Stephen Titus, I apologize last week for saying that your gunmetal gray jerseys were Detroit Lions knockoffs, or however I phrased it. I saw he left us a nice message on our Facebook about that. We love you, Stephen Titus. He's a friend of the show, so it's all good.
Apologize for. I said
I know you. He won't get on his best friend, his best friend's kid. He definitely will give me crap. That's fine. But Stephen, if you really want to impress me, you'll get a nice silver helmet with that logo of your Billings Outlaws on there. I think that'd be pretty tight. Anyway, trying to think what the other news story was this past week, other than the AF1 podcast. Like I said, I wanted to bring them up because they did a great interview with Dalton Cole. I thought that was pretty great. Any news items from you stand out this week that I might have missed?
No, I didn't. Like I said, I didn't even see the one about Stephen Titus's car. So I kind of been out of out of sorts today. I've been working on a bunch of other stuff and the house remodeling and everything, so I haven't spent as much time perusing the different social media sites for AF1 news like I should have. Uh,
It's all good. It seems like with only a couple games this week, it was very quiet on the news front. But looking ahead at next week's games, it should be we got some good ones I think coming up here as I pull up this upcoming schedule. As week 11, we have a full slate. All
yeah,
8 teams will be in action, so we should not be short on the Arena Football One goodness. Now, this will be a very interesting game that starts us off on Saturday, May 24th, as the Oregon Lightning will travel to Nashville to take on the Cats.
mm,
This is a game that should be a test for the Lightning. If the Lightning are legitimate, they could give the Cats a run for their money. But the Cats have been good too, so I think this could be a sneaky good game. I hope
yeah,
it's a sneaky good game.
yeah.
Then we got the rematch of the 100-point fiasco down in Corpus Christi as the Tritons travel to Albany. Boy, does Albany do it again, Dad? Do they hang 100 for the second time this season?
No, there's not going to be 100 points scored in this game unless it's a combination of the two teams. Uh, but I still look for Albany to come out with a win in that one.
I do too. So 200 points is the over/under I think we should set for this upcoming game. I'll take the under.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
Um,
me too.
Now another sneaky good game right here. Maybe not sneaky. If you look at their records, you probably would brush it aside, but this could mean a lot as the Billings Outlaws travel to Salina to take on the Liberty. This is going to mean a lot to both of these teams.
Yeah.
As for Billings, another loss, and I'm not going to say their season's done, but it's going to hurt if they lose this game. And if you're Salina, uh, same. A loss will hurt them as good as they've looked, but a win, I think, just jettisons Salina up into the playoff conversation, be on that cusp of it. This is a must-win game for both of these teams.
Yeah, exactly. For
I
both
hate
teams,
throw,
this is must win.
yeah, I hate throwing around that term, must win, but it's week 11. The playoffs are right around the corner, and you're two teams that are sub 500 that need wins to get into the postseason. Now that there's only 4 spots,
Yeah.
so be on the lookout for this game to be a great one. I think these are two very different teams than the last time they played. So looking very forward to this game. I know we haven't really said who we think is going to win, but who do you think takes this one? Is this a Salina game or a Billings game?
Boy, I don't know. My theory is always go with the home team, and so that would be Salina. But I think if Billings can get their act together, they can come out with a big win on the road, and that would mean a lot for them.
I okay, nothing against the Outlaws. I think Salina does take this one. I think it's going to be another shootout though. It's going to come down to those 1 or 2 possessions like Billings did this week. They just can't goof that up. If they
Yeah.
do not have those stop, give up those stops or turn the ball over, Billings has a shot. And this could go either way. But my gut right now as I look at this matchup says I like what I was seeing out of Salina. They've had a break, some time off to maybe recalibrate after that Albany loss. So I kind of feeling Salina. Or does Billings having a little bit of momentum with these guys propel them against a team that's been on a break? So we'll see.
Does
And
that week
finally,
off?
on
Does that week off help or hurt Salina?
that's yep, exactly. And then finally, the Washington Wolfpack will travel to Southwest Kansas to take on the Storm. Sorry, Wolfpack. I see the Storm just raining on whatever parade you had there in Washington, if there was one to begin with.
I believe that this is the vice game of the week. Washington at Southwest Kansas.
Oh, that's true. That's unfortunate. I feel bad that's the matchup. Yikes. I just feel like Jalen Morton's just going to have a day. Maybe he gets a break in the third quarter. I want Washington to get their act together and be competitive, but they just haven't followed through at all this year. So, Storm for me on this one.
Yeah. Well, you and I are always rooting for the underdog. It seems like, unless
Usually.
that one team that we really like needs a win, then we're rooting for them, of course. But yeah, when you don't really have a dog in the fight, we're always rooting for the underdog.
Yeah. And I just want, I like the competitiveness of this league. And we've had some really good games. I'm looking forward to maybe doing like a top 10 AF1 games of the season list. We've had a few dandies, and I want a few more. And I think we could get a couple of those this weekend. And I love it when there's a surprise game thrown in there from a team that we're like, oh, the Wolfpack gave us a shockingly good game this week. I don't know if we're going to get it or not, but it's arena football, and anything can happen. So we'll have to wait and see. And we should be in for a great weekend of jam-packed AF1 action. Anything else, Dad, before we wrap up today's episode?
No, 2 games on Saturday, 2 games on Sunday this weekend. Going to be doing
Is
nothing
it?
but.
It looks like 3. According to this, it says 3 games Saturday, 1 on Sunday.
Okay, well, on my thing, I wrote it down as 3 games on Saturday, but.
Yep, stay in your lane, Randy. I got the official website pulled up right here.
All right.
So.
All right. I'll defer to you this time.
That's right, you will. All right, everybody. We appreciate you watching, commenting, liking, subscribing, all that junk. It's been a fun season so far. Ups and downs for sure, but I think I've liked what I've seen overall out of this AF1 league. As much as I criticize and have fun, and think the Outlaws gunmetal gray uniforms look like rip-off Detroit Lions uniforms, Steven Titus.
Would you say this is gunmetal gray right here?
No, I'd say that looks like gray. But
I said it before, I'll say it again. I don't like the gunmetal gray uniforms on my Lions, but I like them on my Billings Outlaws. There you go.
Like I said, I just wish he had his Outlaws logo on there somewhere. That's all that's if that was on there, I probably wouldn't have said anything.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't even have looked at it as a Lions knockoff jersey, which Steven Titus. I love you. Anyway, all right, Dad, anything else? I'm trying to find the end of the show.
No, bring this to a merciful end, will you please?
Yes, sir. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Stay tuned to this channel for more AF1 recaps and other football goodness as the arena indoor spring football seasons march forward. We'll see you guys next time on the World of Football. Heart emoji. I don't know why I did that. I just did it. The show couldn't end fast enough, Dad.
Really?